Good morning and welcome to today's Facebook Live broadcast, which is about organic food. I recommend organic food as a health coach to all my clients because organic food is real food. This is what used to be called food before we labeled it organic. People think that organic food is something special, whereas that is not the case. I feel that the conventional food that we get from the markets should be labeled as pesticide food or chemical food or poison food because we should stop labeling food as organic because it makes it sound something special when actually that is the food that has been around for centuries and eons, and pesticides are only about 50 to 60 years old depending on which part of the world you're from. So, in fact, in India, pesticides really became big in the 1970s with the advent of the Green Revolution, which was really the chemicalization of agriculture. So what happened is that people started using for the first time in the 70s in India chemical fertilizers and using pesticides because there had been a bounty of agricultural produce in the Western world by using these chemicals. However, the impact of chemicals is very short-lived, and it's the beneficial impact. But the not beneficial impact is very, very long-term because you might get a bumper harvest for one season or 2 seasons or even 3 seasons. But after a while, what we have actually done by using chemicals and pesticides is that we have killed the inherent life, the biodiversity that the soil has, which is what makes soil alive. If you look at forests, they have been standing for centuries and there is no fertilizer that is being put there and no pests that are being put there. Yet for centuries, the forests have been thriving until we started cutting them. So how is it that the forest regenerates itself? This is something that we can think about and realize that we do not require a lot of chemical inputs to grow our food. It's only because of the large-scale production of agriculture, and because we want to grow one type of crop over acres and acres of land that pests have started attacking, because nature always fights back whenever we go against it. I attended a wonderful talk by Dr. Vandana Shiva, and she spoke about how modern day conventional agriculture that uses chemicals and pesticides is a war against nature. And we are never going to win this war, because if we keep putting pesticides and we keep, killing off these rodents and insects and bugs and so on, nature in the way it is designed is it always makes these things stronger. So that's what has been happening since the last 30, 40, 50 years that we have been using these. The bugs are getting stronger and stronger, and we need to keep putting more and more pesticide into the soil to get a little amount of produce. But what is happening on the other side is that we have killed everything that was present in the soil, that made the soil alive from within, that made the soil have high immunity, that made the soil give us the nutrients that our bodies need. I heard a very profound statement from a soil scientist who was also very, very aware of health and the link between the food we eat and our health. And he said that the quality of our health, the state of health that our bodies are in, is reflective of the state of our soil. Let me say that again, because it's a very profound statement, and when I first heard it, it stopped me in my tracks. The state of our bodies is a reflection of the state of our soil. Because we are really actually soil, right? हम मिट्टी के बने हैं और हमें मिट्टी में ही जाना है. So what is the state of our मिट्टी? What are we doing to it? That's the kind of bodies we are getting. And the reason behind it is that all this food that we are growing in this soil that is devoid of nutrients, being artificially fed by chemical fertilizers that just have a few nutrients in them, and not the entire range that our body needs, this is why we are getting nutritional deficiencies. So now we have become a little bit like machines, because we are fed food that is devoid in nutrients, and then those of us who can afford to, we go and buy supplements and we eat those supplements, whereas we should be getting the nutrients directly from our food in the first place. This is the reason that it's so important to go organic. Now, what exactly is organic? Organic means a way of growing food that is natural and is done without the input of artificial petroleum-based chemicals and chemically produced pesticides, larvicides, fungicides. Side kind of rhymes with, what does it remind you of? Suicide, homicide. It's about death. It's about killing. And by killing life in soil, we cannot hope to give life to our bodies, give life to our cells. So unfortunately, this is a vicious cycle that we have gotten into as far as agriculture is concerned, that we are just killing life in soil and trying to save our lives by eating medicines on one side and eating nutritional supplements on the other side. Whereas we should be focusing on making sure that the quality of our food is clean. There was a study done in the US, and there was a person who went from state to state in the US collecting samples of the soil for a different reason actually. But what he found was that whenever he collected organic soil, the amount of nutrients in that soil were far greater than the nutrients in conventional chemically treated soils. In fact, some of the levels of chemicals were so high, like mind-blowingly high, that he decided to publish this research, even though this was not the research that he was after. So if you look at a tomato and you look at the amount of calcium in it, and you compare a conventional tomato with a organically grown tomato, he found that the levels of some of these nutrients was 10 times, 50 times, 100 times, even 1,000 times more in the really good organically grown produce. So right there, when we look at the logic of why is organic produce so expensive, which is what so many people say very often, that it's way too expensive. That's because we are looking at it on a very low denominator. So you look at, let's say, potatoes, which might be 50 rupees a kg in the conventional market, and in the organic market, they might be 100 rupees a kg, and you'd say, oh my God, it's double. But double of what? Double of 50 rupees. Most of us who are living in these urban places, I would like to ask you, how much do you spend on a family of 4 for your groceries and for your fresh produce on a monthly basis? 10,000? 15,000? 20,000? Okay. So if you were to grow, if you were to go organic, and let's say organic is 50% more. Okay, and worst case scenario, 100% more, which it isn't. It's roughly about 30 to 50% more. So if you were spending 20,000, 50% would mean you would now spend 30,000. That's 10,000 rupees extra. How much do you spend when you go to buy a dress, of which you have many hanging in your wardrobe? Or how much do you spend when you take your family out for, let's say, a movie and dinner, and maybe you enjoy a drink on the side or something like that? How much do you spend? Maybe 7,000, 8,000. So almost the entire excess that going organic would cost you for the entire month. So what I would say is if money is of primary concern to you, then please do consider a few things. One is it better to have another dress or go out for another meal that is actually going to harm us and make us sick, versus using that money to buy an entire month's worth of groceries? Apart from that, think a little long term. Think of buying organic as a life insurance, as a health insurance. So you are, instead of putting the money in health insurance, you're putting it into organic food. So that's another way to look at it. Because when you eat organic, you are saving your body from a lot of poison that goes into it. These pesticides, these herbicides, larvicides, fungicides, they are known to create havoc, especially with the hormonal system. The amount of PCOD in women, the amount of thyroid, the amount of cancer that is exploding, and even diabetes, all of these have been linked to the pesticides in our food. You just have to do a little bit of research on Google and you will see all the evidence of linkages between pesticides and lifestyle diseases, or any of the diseases that I mentioned. Autoimmune diseases, a lot of them are being linked to the consumption of chemicals through our food. So I would really like you to think again, what is it that we value? That one day of outing with the family, or that extra dress, or that trip that we are going to, or that little piece of jewelry that we are buying, or putting clean, chemical-free, natural, wholesome food into the bodies of our families and us. What is the value of food today? We are always bargaining with the sabzi wala, but when we go to the mall, do we bargain? Actually, farmers are and this is something that breaks my heart, are some of the lowest paid profession in our country. Farmers are among them. So, in fact, when we, get the advantage of their hard labor 3-4 times a day, we cannot survive without their hard labor. And if you have ever gone to a farm or tried to grow food, even in your, kitchen garden or your balcony, you will realize how difficult it is to grow food. And to grow organic food is a certain kind of tapasya. So I really think that we should be honoring the farmers who are working so hard to give us organically grown food, because they have to do so much more to keep the food clean. It's very easy to put fertilizers. It's very easy to spray pesticides. It's not so easy to compost. It's not so easy to find natural ways to deter pests. It's not so easy to find people to pay you enough for your hard labor for organic food. And the other service that is done when you pay for organic is you are letting our soil, our dharti maa that we call, we are allowing that to be clean. We are allowing that to be flourishing with the life, with the natural life that is in soil. What really makes soil alive, and in fact, you can pick up some soil and just look at it, and if there are things moving in it, you know that and there is leaf litter, and there are earthworms, and there is, wriggly worms in it, that means that soil is alive. But if you just pick up you go to a pesticide farm and you pick up some soil, you'll see that there's very little, if any, alive matter in it. That is dead soil. And it's not going to be able to give you food that will make your body thrive, that will make your body have vitality and have radiance. So, so now let's look at the 5 ways that you can identify if the food that you're buying is really organic, because we don't want to be scammed by people saying it's organic and actually end up giving us conventional food. So I've just made some notes, so I'm just going to look at that and go one by one. So the first way that you can tell if something is organic is by its appearance. Organic food, like nature, every piece is unique. It has its unique bumps and its unique turns and curves. Nothing will look like the other, which is why organic food sometimes doesn't look as beautiful. It might be a little curved, it might be a little thin here and a little thick there, and it might have some smudges, and it's not as shiny, like those shiny apples that you see. Those are certainly not organic. Plus, they have been waxed on top to make them look shiny. But because we are attracted to uniformity, we are attracted to color, these people know that, and they do all these practices just to attract us. So organic food may not always look so good. Of course, there are exceptions. I have seen some organic food even look better than conventional food. But as a rule, it may be a little odd shaped, and not everything will be even. If you go to one farmer and you find that every carrot is looking the same, it's like the same size, the same length, and the same girth, and so on, be wary of that. If you find that some carrots are bending this way and some are smudged and a little bit of mud on them, and then that's better actually. That shows that there's likelihood that it's that it's organic. So it has a certain rustic, rough, unfinished kind of look versus the polished, shiny, that sort of even kind of makeup kind of look of vegetables and fruits. And even if you look at dals, you will find that dals are slightly rough and not so shiny, and may have, some little chips here and there and a little spot here and there. So these are the ways to tell from the first way of checking is appearance. The second way of checking is aroma or smell. Just do an experiment. Go to an organic market and buy coriander or mint, any of those, and buy conventional coriander or mint, okay? And just smell them one after the other, and you will know the difference. If it's really organic, even a little bit of coriander or mint can fill up the room. And if you were to put just a few leaves of the mint into your tea, you will notice that it is so much stronger than the conventional mint that you might get. The leaves of the organic mint might even be smaller than the conventional one, but they will have so much more fragrance because they are loaded with the oil and so on. Whereas conventional produce, what tends to happen, why does it grow so big and it looks a little bit pica, is because when we put a lot of fertilizer in the soil becomes dehydrated, it becomes salinated, and as you know, that salt actually dehydrates us. So as a result, farmers need to use more water in conventionally produced fruits and vegetables, and that makes them grow bigger, which is of course better for commerce reasons because all this is sold by weight, so they get more weight. But unfortunately, what happens is it tends to water down the flavor, which is why organic food is so much more flavorful. Flavor is a sign of nutrients. When there is more flavor in your food, it means that there are more nutrients in your food, and you will be satisfied faster. So you will end up eating less. So those of you who are looking for weight loss, this is another way. When you eat organic food, and I also talk about whole food, which is, eating food in its whole form and not refined food. When we eat whole organic food, because of the higher nutrient content, because of the fiber present in it, we feel fuller faster. So definitely give it a try. Look for the aroma, look for the fragrance, and you will know the difference because it's an indication of flavor. The third is taste. Because of the nutrient concentration, as I explained, the watering down of conventional produce and the concentration of nutrients in organic food, the taste is amazing. And if you have eaten really organically produced mangoes or carrots or sweet potatoes or, practically anything, you will be amazed because you might remember the taste, that your grandmothers used to speak about. You will find that taste, in organically grown produce. So that's another sign. I can tell by eating a mango because actually the amount of chemical that is used in conventional markets to ripen a mango and to, make it look all yellow and, all of that. I just put a piece of mango in my mouth and my mouth starts burning because over the years I have cleansed my palate, and the burn is really from all the chemicals that are there in the mango. If we go on eating chemical food, we don't have that kind of sensitivity left anymore in our palate. Or if we go on eating a lot of processed food, which is highly flavored with chemicals like, chips and so on, and we eat them regularly, then to some extent our taste buds kind of get accustomed to that high level of salt and high level of sugar, and they cannot tell the subtle differences that are present in flavors and fresh foods. So I would highly recommend that you cleanse your palate a little bit, and then you will really be able to tell the difference, and you will derive so much satisfaction from chewing a radish or a carrot or a or even a cucumber than you will get from all this artificial food that we are trying to stimulate our taste buds with. Okay, what else? Then we have insects. That's the fourth sign. If you find some amount of insects, a worm once in a while in your mango, or some amount of insects here and there, it means there is life on that farm. I'm not saying that you should buy produce that is full of insects. Of course, you should return that, and usually organic farmers will be happy to oblige you. But if you find an insect here and there, you can just brush it off, wash the produce properly, and chop and cook, or however you're eating it, you can just continue eating it. So don't be afraid of insects. Insects are a sign that there is life on this farm. Insects are so important for natural organic farming. They are the ones that are pollinating the flowers. They are the ones that are turning the soil. They are the ones that are eating all the dead matter and turning it into nutrient-rich soils. So don't be afraid of insects. They are our friends. Fifth is shelf life. Organic produce, especially the dried organic produce, like your grains and your dals and beans and so on, they can spoil faster than conventional produce. And the reason for this is, and by spoilage we mean that insects attack them. The reason is that even the insects know that there are more nutrients in organic food, which is why they will attack your brown rice or your dals, organically grown dals or masalas, faster rather than all the pesticide food, because even the insects know to stay away from food that has some amount of toxins and some amount of poisons in them. So if your food is getting spoiled like within weeks or months, your dals and your grains and so on, that means that it must have been organic. And you compare it to the inorganic, if it's faster, then it certainly was organic. However, in the case of vegetables and fruits, it can be opposite. I have seen that when I buy organically grown produce, and in fact, I just bought some today, being Sunday, we have our Sunday organic farmers market, that food lasts in the fridge much longer and it looks much more fresh. And that is because of the lesser water content and the higher nutrient concentration. Also because in our organic market, usually the produce has been picked that very morning, or latest would be the previous evening. So it has just literally come from farm to table, versus the conventional produce, which God knows when it was picked and how long it has been traveling to get to you, and so on. So that is why that produce also bruises faster, because it has more water content, whereas organic fruits and vegetables end up looking fresher much longer. So those would be my 5 top tips. Let me just go through them quickly again, because some people have joined us late. So the first is appearance, and I'm just going to give you one sentence on each one of them. How to tell if your produce is really organic. First is appearance. Organic produce may not look as beautiful as the produce that has been pumped with all kinds of chemicals and made to look all shiny and grown in unnatural ways, and then waxed, like in the case of apples, or dipped into color in the case of many green vegetables. So it would have a little rustic, unfinished kind of look, not the polished, manicured look that people are most attracted to. So that's number 1, appearance. Number 2 is smell or fragrance. Organic produce just smells so much better. It is more intense, and the fragrance can fill up a whole house, and it will be on your hands if you're chopping with them and cooking with them. So to tell the difference, just buy some organic coriander versus inorganic and just smell, and you will know the difference if it's really organic. Third is taste. Because of the high nutrient concentration and the lower water content in organic vegetables, they taste so much better versus the conventional vegetables and fruits. Number 4 is insects. The presence of insects is a good sign, and it shows that there is life in the soil, and that produce is okay as long as it's a few insects here and there, which you can wash off and brush off and clean. And the 5th thing that I spoke about was shelf life. The grains and the beans and the lentils last less, and the fresh produce lasts longer on the shelf. So those would be my 5 top tips, 5 observations that you can make to, when you're buying organic and you want to make sure that your produce is really organic. The other thing that I would like to recommend is you learn how to ask the right kind of questions. Go and visit some organic farms and, meet your farmer and ask the right kind of questions. And those questions would be, how do you, stay away from pests? What is your pest management system? And they should be able to tell you. What do you do for fertilizer? If you go visit a farm, you will usually see giant compost heaps, and then you know that this farmer is composting, and you can ask them. There are various methods of composting. So what kind of composting are they doing? Then you will see signs on the farm. If you go to a conventional farm, you'll see bottles of pesticides littered around, and you'll see bags of chemical fertilizer and so on. But if you go to an organic farm, you can even smell it in the air. Actually, it smells much fresher, and you will see compost heaps, and actually nothing should smell offensive. And then even the way they are growing, usually in natural farming, they would do a lot of mulching, they would put dry leaves and so on the soil. So there are various ways. Just educate yourself and learn how in organic farming they do composting, and how they make the soil nutrient rich, and how they do pest management and so on. And just educate yourself. Go and visit a few farms, and that should give you a lot of clues. So I do hope that you will consider buying organic. There are so many markets, and we in Gurgaon and Delhi and even in Bombay, we are so fortunate. Even in Bangalore, I know there are so many farmers doing this amazing work, hard work to bring us clean food that is high in nutrients, that is that does not use chemical inputs which are harmful to our bodies, that is making the soil more fertile, naturally fertile, where the immune system of the plant itself is strong, which is reflective of the kind of immune systems we have today. So definitely I would say, if you had to put your money, put it, instead of putting it in medical bills and pharmacies and giving it to doctors and buying expensive health insurances, why not be proactive and do your own health insurance by going organic and investing in clean organic food that is rich in nutrients, that is devoid of chemicals, and that will keep you and your entire family healthy, and it will not, do all those disruptions that chemicals do to our bodies. So that's what I would like to say. And with that, I would like to conclude. These are the 5 simple ways to find out if your produce is organic. Look out for them. Keep your observation powers strong. And I wish you a very healthy and abundant and tasty, because if you eat organic, all the food will be a lot more tastier. And just get involved. Food is not something to be relegated to the servants or somebody else to look after it. Get involved. When we go and buy our vegetables and we buy our fruits every Sunday, it's so exciting to see all that amazing produce. It's like connecting with nature, and then we chit chat with the farmers, and sometimes we even tell them what is it that we would like them to grow, and they're very happy to source those seeds and grow for us. And that's an entirely different relationship that you have with the farmer that you have with your food versus, being detached from our food, not knowing where it's coming from, not knowing what are the inputs into that, and just eating it mindlessly. And this is what is, causing a lot of health issues these days. So I would say get involved, make some organic farmers your friends, go visit the organic markets around your neighborhood if you're lucky enough to have them, or even grow a little bit on your balcony or your terrace to really get a deep sense of realization of what goes into growing food and a deep sense of gratitude. And I want to actually end today by giving a lot of gratitude to all the farmers all around the world that are working so hard to give us clean food. And I truly appreciate them from the bottom of my heart, because giving my family poison-free, clean food, organic food is one of the joys of my life. And I'm so grateful to the farmers that make this possible. So that's all I have for you today. And I'll see you next time. And I hope to see you very soon. Stay connected with the page and join into my mailing list by going onto my website, which is www.healthyhabitsnow.com. And if you go on it, a little form will pop up and you can sign in, and you will be informed of all the future events. We do retreats, we do one-day workshops, I do online programs, cooking classes. I've authored a cookbook. I'm working on my next one. So there's a lot being offered. You can find out more on my website, healthyhabitsnow.com. Sign in to the mailing list, and thank you very much for all those who signed in and who gave the time here to listen. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.